Well, how y'all doing? I figured I would talk about another few knives that I wanted to talk about. Now, first up here is this one. This is a Tucson. It's I guess, a fairly late model. I mean, it's in the 300 series. Or the 324 or something like that. Haven't really seen too many people talk about it, but this thing is quite nice. You can see it's basically like an kind of like a little acid tumbly wash kind of titanium sort of thing going on there. Frame lock. We got a nice pocket clip that's attached from the inside, so that's kind of neat. We got some knurling going on both the tops and bottoms there. It's a front flipper only sort of thing. And the blade shape is it's a little interesting. This did come factory stone washed, and it's probably one of their best specimens for it, as far as I've seen, which is pretty darn cool. I like that. And yeah, this is there we go. Antimonov design going on here. I like how the N is all sorts of just drop down and all that sort of stuff. This one's in 14C28N, as a lot of their stuff is. And yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is kind of this blade shape here. It's a little strange, but this thing is a cardboard slaying juggernaut. It does come down to a very, very, very thin edge, even before the bevel, which I've, obviously changed to 17 degrees, so you can see it shining a little bit differently than it might otherwise would have. But you have an amazing amount of power kind of going on over in this little curved area here. And you can really muscle your way through a lot of cuts there. But you also have the curve there, so opening boxes and stuff like that works out all right. And if you are trying to power through some of that cardboard and you slip a little bit, you do have that little huck bill sort of thing going on there. Keeps you in the cut so you're not slipping out. And yeah, it's just fantastic for that. Also, the handle on this thing is surprisingly comfortable. Really just kind of looks super, super plain. But yeah, with my, large hands, if I want to get that nice hammer grip, gorilla grip sort of thing going on there, very, very comfortable. And it also has a very generous finger choil, which, hey, that's even kind of safe for me, so I do appreciate that. So yeah, we got the hammer grip there. It curves around a little bit, and that helps if I'm going to be holding it without using the finger choil in the saber grip sort of style there, with my thumb on top, which has some nice jumping kind of going on there. So that's super, super comfortable as well. And that also doesn't have a really strong point going on there. So the pinch cut, or the pinch grip, also very, very, very comfortable. And of course, grabbing it from behind if you're going to be cutting anything that's looped around it or whatnot. Also super comfortable due to the gentle arc we have on the back there. And because of that little gentle recurve, it also helps hold on to something if it was going to be slipping out on you. Yeah, this thing is just pretty darn cool. The grind on it's pretty interesting, where this actually does have kind of a swooping pattern rather than just a straight high flat grind. And we got a nice swedge on the top there. Just kind of keeps it a little bit thin, especially in the center areas there. So that's pretty darn neat. The pocket clip works pretty darn well as well. It's titanium milled, so not deep carry, but it's fairly deep carry as far as basically how much would end up sticking out after you've got that sitting in your pocket there. And something I do like about it, for one, the front flipper, very, very easy to deal with, probably due to the slope that's kind of cut in here on the handle. But due to that swedge, it's really easy to loosen with the other side of your hand. So if you do want to kind of do that if you're not super into a front flip at that particular time. Well, that's your prerogative, and it's very, very easy to do. We do have a little bit of cutouts going on both sides here, which is pretty darn cool. And they are very, very flat, so it doesn't have, lock bar access, I guess, but I have absolutely no problems whatsoever disengaging this thing at all. Also, this thing is quite drop shutty. We got, that's basically where the detent is there, so once you're over that, yeah, it just drops as soon as you turn it up and turn it upside down like that. We have a nice long backspacer on this thing too, which I do like. It covers up the blade, protection and all that sort of stuff. It might be a little bit more difficult to clean out or whatnot than some others, but that's perfectly fine. I prefer this than having a lot of exposed blade. Yeah, this is a super winner. I might be wrong, but I don't think I've seen this thing listed for a while, which is interesting because, it kind of came and went. And even when it did come the first time, I think it's because it's from a designer who hasn't worked with them nearly as much as Mazwan or Wong or Night Morning. Kind of flew under the radar. I picked up one of the first of them, and I think I paid like $70 for it. And for that price, this thing is absolutely banging. The only kind of difficult time you might have is trying to sharpen up the subtle curve that we have here. On the KME, because of the 1-inch length of it, it was a bit much. That you could probably do it, but you might end up doing a lot of extra sharpening around it just to try to get the side of the stone in there or something like that. I've sharpened this on the Precision Edge Work Sharp thing with the 1/2-inch width stones, and it was perfectly fine. Also, they just announced a lot of the additional crap for it, which I am signed up for to be kind of first in line to be able to try and purchase a lot of the extra stuff. I really appreciate that they offer kind of an elite package if you want the whole thing, or for people like, me and probably quite a few of you as well who already have it, they offer an upgrade kit. So it just has the additional stuff and the case and everything for it, which is fantastic. I really appreciate that. But yes, this guy, 324, super, super great knife. I really can't find a whole lot to fault with it. I can't actually get to that blade because of the backspacer there. So, yeah, I mean, the only niggle that I would really have on it, and, I've harped on this quite a bit, is I do like internal lock bar relief just to keep a standard flow kind of going on there. And we do have a little bit of weight relieving on the inside there, just some pockets here and there, which means they probably could have, but oh well, that's, just more of a personal preference in an absolute perfect world sort of thing there. So yeah, really, really do appreciate this thing. Alright, the next one I want to talk about here, this is the Tucson Ts249, and unfortunately I've bought this thing twice. I only got one of them, because the first one that I attempted to buy from somebody on a Facebook group turned out that they just wanted the money. They didn't really want to let go of the knife. And yeah, whatever. But shortly after that, I ended up picking this up on eBay because they showed backup. This is a Wong design, and kind of interesting because it's not enormous like a lot of his stuff is. I, of course, have a whole bunch of fingerprints and whatnot on it, but that's perfectly fine. Just means I use my stuff. So yeah, this is another frame lock. Has a nice hole cut out sort of thing going on there in the middle. Definitely helps with keeping the weight down on this thing. Fairly small pocket clip. Works really well. It's not super pointy, and it's not, it doesn't come down to a single point in there. It does rest on the lock bar. but it does have a bit of flexibility in that it's a little thin. Really doesn't affect locking or any of that sort of pressure stuff there. So that's pretty darn cool. Yeah, the flipper tab on it works out super great. The detent's nice and crisp on this thing. Something interesting is that it does widen out at the tip there, or not necessarily the tip, but the top of the handle, which I appreciate for my large thumbs. It just gives it more area to purchase than if it would be back here, where it would feel a little bit more like, it's sitting on some shadow box liners or something like that. This is much more comfortable. I really do appreciate that. And it does have a little bit of chamfering on both sides that some knives do, I guess, for some padding for the whole flipper thing. Yeah, it's kind of nice. But yeah, it's because of that, the top of this thing kind of has a little hourglass sort of shape where it thins out a bit there in the middle and then gets a little bit wide again. What I do really, really appreciate about this guy is it's not incredibly long. Yeah, we're just basically right at 3 inches because, obviously this ruler has just a little tiny bit of extra space there in the end. So we're right around 3 inches, which usually for me, if a knife is 3 inches, then the handle is generally not long enough. However, this one does work quite well. You can even get that nice gorilla grip going on there. Fairly comfortable, especially with that swoop in the extra thick sort of area there in the front. So it's pretty darn comfortable for that too. Pinch grip, nice and comfortable. We don't have any little pokies or anything going on that. A little reverse grip for some paring action or whatnot. Not super bad. A lot of times a flipper tab can kind of get in the way of that, but you can just go back just a little bit further and that works out fine for that. We do have a gradual plunge grind on here. Well, we do have a nice sharpening choil kind of put in there. And yeah, I really do like that. Yeah, you can see some micro scratches in there. This is actually up as another candidate for me to do some stone washing on it, just because, well, I like how it looks. Yeah, I really do appreciate this one. I mean, Wong in general really, really knocks it out of the park with regards to having a knife fit larger hands, which is fantastic. I absolutely appreciate that about pretty much all of his designs. Even the TS158, the little tiny carbon fiber flipper, still pretty darn comfortable for my hands, even though it's a 3-finger grip. It's not a full 4-finger grip on that one in particular. But yeah, this one's nice and compact. And it's still very, very structurally sound, even though it does kind of look like you might end up having a bit of structural integrity kind of compromised with the cutout there in the middle. No, not so much. And I suppose you could probably stuff something in there, like cable or something like that, if you need to cut it. Obviously there's better tools for cutting cable and whatnot, but, in a pinch, why not? We also have some kind of clockwork jimping sort of stuff kind of going on here on the back end there, which you don't necessarily interface with if you're holding it in a reverse grip. Maybe like that, but I don't really know anybody who does that. They're going to want to have their thumb kept on there for a little bit more, substance behind that point there. But yeah, this is another nice one. I really do like this for some EDC stuff. It's just fairly simple, straightforward, very, very useful drop point blade. Quite thin behind the edge. Not quite as thin as this guy over here, but still very, very nice and slicey. I guess the other thing I wanted to talk about with this guy is the plunge grind ends right about there. So you have a lot of sharpening without having to worry about a plunge grind at all. And this one has a nice gradual thing on there. That obviously has something to do with it being a finger choil rather than a sharpening choil. But yeah, I figured I would mention that. All right, the next one up here, I think I took a look at rather recently. Kind of did a review of it, and that is this guy. This is the YX, or Jan Xanadu YX 650. And this thing has a lot of great stuff going on for it. These are titanium scales. You can see they have that kind of fire anodization sort of thing going on there. It's relatively easy to do if you have the setup for it. You just have your power thing come down to points. You can either use needles or nails or something like that, and then you can basically drag it across, and as long as you're not overlapping them, then you get those sort of patterns sort of things going on there. Quite nice. Does have a lanyard hole there in the back, but it does go through the back spacer, so it's very, very nice and rigid there. Pocket clip, it is just a little tiny bit pointy at the contact point there, but works quite well. It does have a reasonable scoop to it beforehand, so it is at least catching in your pocket. And yeah, as I'd taken a look at in the other video for this thing, this one has multi-level or multi-row bearing system going on there. It uses the same thing that Tucson does, that nylon cage with the two things there. And yeah, this one's also quite nice and drop shutty. Super fantastic there. We have a very, very robust blade stop pin there as well, which is great. And it also kind of cups inside the blade, so the blade kind of wraps around just a little bit. It's got these little chamfers here in the back for, I guess a little bit more of your comfort for the flipping, a bit like this guy does. But yeah, in general, you do want to have your thumb a little bit further out onto the blade for the jimping and all that sort of stuff there, rather than kind of back here. But man, this thing is super, super comfortable, and it's impressive too, since these are flat slab scales. Obviously some companies can do a really, really great job with that, i.e. a lot of Spyderco's designs outside of the Shaman are very, very often flat slab G10 scales, and or some titanium here and there. But they are doing a little bit more contouring with their titanium these days. But whatever, I digress. Yeah, on the inside here, it's level, so you don't really have any additional hot spot right there. It's your index finger, titanium or steel insert there, and a little bit of I guess I'd call that jimping or crenellations or something like that on that side there. It does actually do a little bit of a good job of grabbing onto your your thumb flesh or whatnot. I wouldn't really have a problem otherwise with my thumb slipping out, but it just adds that little extra bit to it. And a very, very generous finger choil as well. This one I might want to bring out just a little further for my particular digits, but yeah. This one probably not the absolute thinnest thing behind the edge whatsoever, but it still cuts very, very nicely. This one is in D2. We have stone wash on the flats and then satin on the actual bevels and all that sort of stuff. And with the amount of work that it took for me to actually work to sharpen this stuff up, I would definitely say that it is D2. I have about as much I had about as much difficulty sharpening this up as I do with a lot of Boker's D2, which is usually a decent sign that it's fairly hard. People can accidentally or on purpose, I suppose, get D2 up to quite high, like 63, 64 or something like that. And, you know, I think that's kind of a little bit more where Boker's aiming. They probably aim somewhere around 61, 62 or something like that. And some of them might get a little bit more. But this one certainly does a lot. It feels a lot the same, cuts a lot the same. It's quite fantastic. We have a little bit of a belly kind of down here before we go up. Almost reminds me of a Nessmuck kind of design, but I guess the belly would be shifted just a little bit further forward if it were, I guess, to be fully designed that way, but that's perfectly fine. But yeah, this thing is very, very comfortable. It's fairly large, so, you know, it obviously is very, very comfortable in all the different grip options that I have available to me. And, you know, I absolutely appreciate that for, you know, there's just a lot of knife designs out there that a lot of people really, really love that just don't end up working for me. I guess the Civivi Elementum really comes to mind of, you know, a lot of people really, really like that knife. That's why they've come out with so many different variations on it. But at the end of the day, it is a 3-inch knife, kind of like this, but with a handle size that doesn't quite fit my hands. The button lock version, yes, but it is also, you know, a 3.5-inch blade. And that works great. All right, yep, that was another nice digression there. But yeah, this titanium, quite nice. I don't believe there's any... Yeah, there's no skeletonization going on the inside on this. As a result on that, though, between the construction and all that sort of stuff, this thing feels like a bank vault. You know, you're not really worried about the lock bar coming out on any sort of thing, but, you know, you generally wouldn't on a frame lock at all. This one just feels absolutely solid. Does kind of remind me a little bit of the feel, I guess, solidity-wise, that you would get out of some, oh, what's the word? Wow, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Hold on, I'll get it. Hinder designs. Yeah, like the XM18s. Okay. My mind was going to Medford. I'm like, no, it doesn't quite feel, you know, like a hand axe like the Medford Praetorian or anything like that. But yeah, very, very nice and solid. I really do like that the Anno is done basically on everything, including the backspacer. Obviously, everything doesn't match up because they do them in separate pieces. And I'm perfectly fine with that. They are basically sand or bead blasted, so it does have that a little bit chalky feeling. And yeah, you can see it can get some snail trails, just as a lot of other bead blasted titanium, especially that Spyderco's Taichung, Taiwan factory uses. Man, this thing is just fantastic. Flipping action's great on it too. You know, obviously I mentioned the multi-row bearings on there, but the detent is nice as well on there. Just a really nice knife. I really wish they were a little bit more available here. I picked this one up on eBay. There was a seller there who has some of them. So I picked it up there. I think it was about $50, somewhere right around there. But I have heard people getting them even cheaper, at least when they were available for auction on eBay, which I haven't seen personally. But hey, more power to you if you did. But yeah, otherwise you will see these things for probably about $55 on a few sellers have them on AliExpress. I generally have a little bit more luck with eBay, so that's kind of my preference there. You know, your mileage may vary on that. I don't know. Yeah. And the last one I wanted to talk about is this guy right here, the TS313. The button lock duder from Tucson. This thing has a lot of great stuff going for it. It's got a couple of kind of meh sort of things. If it's something you're quite worried about, the tip of this out of the box, you can actually touch it if you're digging your hands in there or something like that. I haven't had any problems carrying this around with poking myself. While it's in my pocket, because I'm going to be grabbing it like that. I'm not trying to grab it like this with a finger going in there. But that is something that can kind of bother some folks. And the thumb studs aren't exactly the best things in the world. It is a little bit more comfortable if you go on top to fling the thing out, rather than kind of going from behind. So I could certainly appreciate kind of a little more refinement on this thumb stud sort of thing. But it's easy enough to remove. And, some people would certainly want to, because this thing has fantastic action with the button lock there. And obviously, you can deploy that so it doesn't lock closed like the Civivi Elementum button lock does. It's got a lot of interesting sort of things going on there. It does have some speed holes or whatnot for, keeping the weight down on the handle, because these are contoured. And it is milled both inside and out. Almost kind of looks like an inline 6 kind of milling out there from maybe a Porsche or something like that. They might be a flat 6. I don't know, whatever. Neither here nor there. But this thing is very, very, very comfortable. It is large. There's no getting around that. But I do like the fact that this the blade does drop down a bit. So it's, right around basically where your finger is going to be. It does give you a little bit of power to be able to do that. This thing took me forever to sharpen. This is probably one of the most difficult knives I've had to sharpen for a while. And yes, you can definitely tell with the bezels there that, or the shoulder, that I did shorten that up quite a bit to get it to that 15-degree angle. But holy crap, this thing took like 3 days of me coming in and going out and coming in and going out for it. Now it was much easier to sharpen on a belt grinder, which is where I originally set the bevel angle before I decided to use the work sharp and whatnot on there. But yeah, there's a lot really going on for the blade there. This one is a little bit more hard use, so it's not incredibly thin behind the edge. But of course, me putting that 15-degree angle on there, it still slices super, super nice. And this area here is hollow ground, which is nice, which means that the tip out here does get a little bit thicker. So this did take a little bit more time to sharpen. But we got a nice swedge there. I really do appreciate a little bit of a flat area there just for, indexing when I'm sharpening and all that sort of stuff. We got a nice sharpening choil. I'm going to definitely call it that. With a plunge grind that ends right around here probably. So you got some sharpening to do there before that becomes an issue for you. But man, this thing is just super fun to play with. Very, very comfortable in the hand. I can either be back here, and it feels a lot to me like a Maddox 2 XL sort of thing. But you can also choke up as you have a nice, comfortable flat there. It is kind of an interesting, it's like a clip point tanto sort of thing. I don't know. It's very, very useful, though. I've been having a lot of fun using this thing around the house and everything. Just, breaking down boxes and other things that I find to cut and whatnot. The pocket clip on this thing is a little interesting in that it does sit basically in that groove there. It's fairly easy to get in and out there because that does stick up out of the top. It might not be the absolute best thing in the world for just ease of getting in and out of the pocket. Well, getting in the pocket. Getting out of the pocket, almost everything is quite nice and easy for me, but all right. Yeah, we have a little lanyard thing kind of carved into the back here. Next to a lot of these crenellations on a back spacer. Absolutely frictionless when the button's depressed on there, so that's nice. really, really, really does make it super nice and fun to play with a lot. And because the blade has some heft behind it, it is 4 millimeters thick at the blade stock there. You know, it definitely does have that weight to swing around there. Yeah, very, very, very comfortable in the saber grip because of those sort of things there. You can really gorilla grip on it, and that plunge lock still isn't really getting in your way unless you really wanted to hammer grip up there and you had super long fingers. That might end up being a problem, but mine doesn't reach it. So, you know, fantastic for me. And yeah, very, very comfortable in the reverse grip there as well. So, hooray. And it's still pretty darn comfortable doing a pinch grip. You can grip it kind of low, or you can even kind of use that thumb stud as a little bit of anchor to grip up a little bit more. And of course, you can also choke up onto the blade, especially if you want to use the tip for cutting something flush or something like that. I did that with when I was replacing my laptop keyboard just a little while ago. I actually did that with the TS06, not this one, but you know, same idea there. But all right, yeah, I have rambled on a lot. All of these knives are fantastic. What I can say is the price that I've seen for these things quite a bit is pretty out there. I will say for this one, I purchased it on Amazon, as there's a seller there who sells it for I think it was 170, which is already under the 200 or so that I usually see these auction off for. But I also had, you know, a bit of a gift card, like $40 or something like that, on Amazon. So I ended up basically paying somewhere around like 120 or 130 for this, which at that price, I think this is absolutely a fantastic knife. But for 200, I might pass on it. You know, just due to, you know, if I'm going to pay that much for a knife, I want everything to be absolutely the best as far as design. And these thumb studs, not quite there. And I wouldn't mind kind of taking the angle up just a little bit further on that Tonto tip there, so that this back spacer could get all the way to the front there, so you don't have to worry about a tip being exposed. But that's just me, and you know, the fact that, well, you know, a lot of us don't have just infinite money to throw around on collecting a whole bunch of really, really expensive knives. You know, a lot of us have a few that are, you know, super nice and whatnot. But yeah, the rest of these guys are generally pretty affordable. Like I said, I got this one for $50, but people have gotten it for even cheaper, which for that price, it's a fantastic deal. It's a bank vault of a knife. This one usually goes for around 50 or 60 on the bay and whatnot. I haven't seen them on White Mountain Knives for a while, but I know he has had a couple of them in. And if you're looking for a smaller knife that's super nice and useful and very, very protective of your fingers there with that flipper tab, this one's really, really hard to beat, especially for the price there. You know, outside of it's N14C28N, so yeah, micro scratches can happen. Can and will happen. And yeah, obviously this one, the 324, 323, one of those. Yeah, if you do get the chance to pick one of these guys up for a decent price, I would say absolutely go for it. It's very, very nice design. I'm really thrilled with this, a lot more than when I originally, you know, put in my bids for them, thinking, oh, it's kind of interesting and whatnot. This does have some skeletonized pockets on the inside, but still fairly weighty. But yeah, this thing is just a cardboard juggernaut. It's fantastic. So those are some other knives that I wanted to talk about recently. This is kind of fun to do from time to time. I think I might want to do, like, I don't know, one of these a month or something like that. Just talk about some other knives and whatnot. But all right, I appreciate y'all for watching. As always, have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Sounds good.